Welcome to Season 2, Episode 42 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me today I have Matt Aguilar.
What up?
And a few familiar faces. We brought back Mr. Charlie Ridgely, a.k.a. Turn Up Charlie, to the show.
What up?
And Queen of Anime / Manga herself, Megan Peters, is back with us.
I'm here. Hello.
And we needed
You're welcome.
We needed a kind of correct team of wide-ranging experts from comic book staff today because we have a lot of things to talk about that are pretty exciting and that we kind of need to go over. A lot of it was going to be a lot of smattering of news that has dropped, which is good because we haven't had as much news. We've just been kind of freewheeling into our own thoughts and stuff, which can get a little crazy, especially with the lineup we have today. So we're going to keep it news-based just to keep everybody safe. We're going to talk about the first trailer for Justice, or the best trailer at least, for Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. We are going to be talking about something from the Spider-Man Miles Morales game that we're finally getting cleared up. We're going to look at the first trailer for the next Frank Miller. I didn't think I'd be saying this in my career time, but the next Frank Miller production, which is coming to Netflix, plus a haunting little Candyman trailer that we're going to talk about. And we're clearing up something from the good old DCEU, looking at something new coming from Marvel Comics. Plus, in our only deep dive today, Megan is going to break down some of the crazier stuff that has been happening on the manga front. It is real over in manga right now, so she's going to tell you about all of that. So let's get started because we got a lot to do. Starting right at the top, we got our first trailer for the Snyder Cut of Justice League today. It was the first, right? There was the announcement trailer, I think, saying, hey, it's going to happen. But this was like the first actual, scene, fully Snyderized thing we've gotten.
Snyderized.
Yeah,
yes.
the thing we've gotten since the original Justice League trailer. Remember that? Or teaser trailer? So, and it was pretty epic. I mean, if the goal was to get people excited that this is a thing worth seeing, this is a different sort of movie. This is not just a kind of recut of the same Justice League we got in theaters. This is something distinctly different. They went big by just pulling out the two biggest things arguably this franchise has going for it right now, Gal Gadot and Darkseid. So yeah. And so this was kind of a teaser that made sense. And I liked it because it also kind of fits. It's a perfect example of how Snyder's entire vision is really cohesive and kind of fits together. Because it was a very nice callback to Batman and Superman's subplot with Gal Gadot, so Wonder Woman, which was more than just the whole, hi, I'm Doomsday, I'm going to help you kill Doomsday thing, which was her recovering artifacts and looking for this picture, but her knowledge as a historian and a museum worker and all that side of her life. There is a kind of investigative thing that she does to help figure out, what is going on with these mother boxes, and what is this all building up to? And we got this really ominous tease where she finds this ancient cave art that shows Darkseid and the kind of unified mother box trinity and all the bad things that are going to happen in this. And the tone of it was immediately different. This is a very different Justice League movie. It's very dark. It was very ominous. The visuals are a lot better. I mean, I've argued that if nothing else, Zack Snyder is a very good visual director. And this scene kind of demonstrated why. So I saw some people still trolling on Twitter because, internet's going to internet and, people saying things like, oh, this doesn't matter. This Darkseid is just another CGI swap out for Steppenwolf. None of this is going to matter. But to me, it felt like it was a different kind of Justice League movie. How did you guys feel?
Well, I don't, for one, just going into the teaser, and it was cool to finally see Darkseid for the briefest portions brought to life, so to speak. It was cool to see the armies behind him. We'd seen that image on Vero and Black and White previously and some other things. It was cool to see that moment. And I love that they utilized the whole Diana being a historian and being around for so many years before Batman and Superman were. And so you're leaning into that and the lore of the mascara and all this stuff that you're able to do with Wonder Woman. So that was really cool. I don't know about the it's really hard to see up close because Darkseid's kind of standing kind of far away So like the overall design looks cool. I'm really curious to see like when we actually get a close up and we see like the face. The painting thing is cool. I did notice some people were like, "Oh, it's like a smile. It's smiling like the way the design is. It's like a smiling antenna ball," which is kind of funny. But overall, I agree. I like the flavor of this little sequence. I think more of that is cool. I like that. I'm not ready to make a judgment based on based on a very small clip. Yeah,
let's just put it out there. This is one small clip, and you don't know. This could be the best thing in this entire cut. And
but
the rest is trash. But like, I'm not saying that. You know me. Yeah. I am a Snyderverse fan, so I'm believing it more than that. But no, I'm not going to go too crazy yet. Being like, see, we told you. Like, not yet.
But that little thing is cool. The little thing is awesome. Yeah.
Charlie.
Hi.
Oh no.
No, I know I acted weird just now, but I don't really have a lot of thoughts on it. Like the Justice League Snyder thing is going to happen. So bring it on. Like I didn't need it, but it's here. So I'm going to watch it. And that footage looked pretty cool. It looked kind of very Snydery, like super ominous and intense, which, I mean, that's neat. Because Justice League wasn't that. It was a mix of that and some weird fun Whedon stuff. So at least this seems to be picking a direction. So I mean, it looks neat. Like I said, I'm not looking too far into how Apocalypse looks or like it, but it looks. I mean, Zack Snyder shoots stuff well, and it looks pretty. So whenever it comes out, I'm gonna sit and watch it. I don't need anything to tell me anything about it at this point. Like it.
So when it comes out, can we have Charlie's tagline like in the review quote? Like, it's neat. Like that. I feel like that should be like the thing that pops up on the poster.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
I love it.
I mean, if for no other reason than like, how can you not watch it after all this crap?
Oh, like, that wasn't a doubt. I agree with you.
I'm just saying, I'm just gonna watch it.
It was just the way you expressed it.
And because I don't have to pay for it. If I had to like go to a theater and pay money and like take time, I'd think about it. I'd probably still go see it, but I'd think about it. No, but it's like, oh, it's streaming. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
I'm in.
I just sat and watched Artemis Fowl. I can do this.
Ugh.
It's fine.
Well, see, why would you do that?
Yeah. Megan, what'd you think?
I'm kind of like in between like Charlie and Matt's opinion here. I thought like the focus on Gal Gadot was a very smart choice because she's fundamentally the most stable part of the DCEU at this point. I know we got, information about Henry Cavill coming back, but like still she's like the person you would look to. I thought that it was just really nice to have like a specific tone set for Justice League, because the entire time when the theatrical cut was getting teased and trailers, it just never felt like it knew what it was doing. Now it feels like it knows what it's doing, whether that's for better or for worse. I think it's great to kind of see the total like cohesiveness of the Snyder, verse of what he's doing here. But mainly I've just been enjoying the memes of the dark seed painting, because everyone's been like, it kind of looks like that like corrected painting that somebody did in like, South America or Latin America, where it was like somebody literally came in with like drugstore paint and like fixed it. I just really like all those memes I've been seeing. So I will definitely be watching it. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than Charlie. But yeah, it's a thing. It's going to happen.
I just like how the end scene is like the ship's going up and it's dark side instead of Steppenwolf, and you're like, wow, this is so much better.
Yeah.
What's going to suck is that's going to be where the movie ends and you never get to find out what happens.
Yeah. Well, I know.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see part one of a movie that won't have a sequel.
Yes. Well, we already talked about this, Charlie, and this is what the people wanted still.
I'm still, like I said, I'm going to watch it. I don't really care.
Yeah. It'll set up fan films, fan fiction, fan art.
Yeah, it'll inspire. Maybe we'll get it. Like I said, hopefully we'll get it in some other form. I take it as a comic or a graphic novel, like a DC Prestige thing, like just finish it and like the other two parts. That'd be cool. All right, moving right along. So we were having this debate about Spider-Man Miles Morales, the new game that's going to be one of the PS5 launch titles, and kind of Insomniac Games, Marvel, Sony. They did a good job launching the visuals and getting people hyped for this, but they kind of didn't stick the landing of the details about the game and what this actually is. And is this a whole new game? Is it a continuation of the Spider-Man game that was popular in the 2018 kind of Spider-Man game? Was this just kind of a side quest story? Like, what was it? So first we got the broad strokes that it was a standalone game, and we still were kind of talking in last show with our games editor Rollin about what that meant. Is it just kind of one of those in-between games that's not like a $20 tiny game, not like a full 60, kind of one of those $40 in the middle games that's only about 10 to 20 hours of content? And since then, Sony is kind of trying to get on the good foot and get out in front of this, and Insomniac can clarify things for people. And again, you got to read, because they always do this in like these slick ways that seems like they're doing stuff without having to actually directly answer the questions. But basically what we learned is that, I think we kind of hit the nail on the head. This will probably be something bigger than a side quest, something smaller than a full game, but it's set a year after the event of Marvel's Spider-Man, after which ended with the setup of Miles Morales getting his powers. So, presumably this is a year later where Peter has trained him and Miles is operating on his own. And we learn that it's going to be basically about a rage in Harlem, a showdown between a power company and a criminal gang, and Miles is kind of caught in the middle, and now he lives in Harlem, and he's kind of trying to defend the neighborhood. So that's the gist of it. And basically that sounded like, they also kind of touted what they're doing. They upgraded the characters with 4D scans, more skin shading and realistic and all that stuff. And the cities in the kind of the build of the city of New York City will be more detailed and stuff like that. So basically, this is what we just said, right? So it's an up-res kind of standalone, which means like $40 kind of halfway or three-quarters game, right?
Yeah.
You get about 10 or 20
hours. They made the perfect comparison. I mean, we talked about this last show, right? Of like, kind of like, here's how it would probably lay out just because of the time frame and the development cycle. And Uncharted Lost Legacy is exactly what it's probably going to be, which, by the way, that game is phenomenal. But that game started out as an expansion for Uncharted 4, got so big that they thought it was kind of its own little thing and didn't just want to make it DLC. So then they made it about an 8 to 10 hour experience and released it as its own thing at $39.99. That is what Miles Morales, I mean, they say Lost Legacy when they're comparing. They're like, that's the best comparison. So, like, I would say this one, because I feel like they need to go a little further than 10, like maybe that 12-hour mark, just because it's going to be so heavily hyped.
Didn't they say it's about half the length of the first one?
No.
Which I maybe I read that in somewhere and I was wrong, but I thought it was about half the length of the original Spider-Man, which the original Spider-Man was a massive game. So even that, like a half of that, around that ballpark, still feels like a really big game, still feels like a full experience. And
yeah, but I have not heard that it was going to be half of that, because I mean, Spider-Man was what, a 60-hour game?
Yeah, something like that.
Hour game. They started development on this when development on Spider-Man PS4 concluded. So I don't think, and they also have a team working on, obviously, Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker's next thing, right? So I don't think they can.
This is a half step. It just feels
right. Well, I was going to say it's exactly a half step. And what I do think they can do, though, which we didn't get a lot of, with Uncharted Lost Legacy was a spinoff of a great franchise that people loved in Uncharted, but Miles Morales is going to be so much bigger than that because of the popularity of the character, the popularity of the franchise, the popularity of that first Spider-Man game. I think they have room to add DLC expansions just to this single game and make it even bigger, as they go along.
Yeah, and that's an absolute possibility. And especially for the PS5, while we're all waiting for Spider-Man 2, that's a good way just to kind of keep that train riding.
And what I like is if they are going to sell it cheaper, that's a great bundle launch thing where you can you can put in Spider-Man with a PS5.
If they don't have a Spider-Man bundle,
they have to.
They will miss out on so much money. It's almost guaranteed.
They will have to. They have to.
Yeah, I mean, as we started, when the price war between Xbox One or Xbox, whatever it is called, in Series One or whatever. What is this thing called even?
Xbox Series X.
Yeah, I don't care. Anyway, moving right along.
Yes.
Neither do I.
When the price
That's the
war,
proper reaction.
Yeah, when the price war between that and the thing I'm going to buy begins, these bundles are going to come back. The bundles will be coming out.
Someone was shocked in the game chat, and I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Mark, of man, the console wars are still a thing. I was like, dude, Those will
Dude.
never
Yeah.
go away. I still rep Sega Genesis for life. Like that
Nintendo!
will never die, man. That
Super
will never-
Nintendo, 90s, baby. N64.
It's the one thing Kofi and I like vehemently agree on. N64 is the best.
Oh, no, N64 is one of the worst, but I rep it anyway.
No, but it's the best.
Oh no,
No,
that's
you're
GameCube.
crazy.
GameCube
It's
is
the
the
best.
best.
Oh, yeah, GameCube was really, really good.
Dreamcast.
best.
Stop it. Go home.
We just need to like
Dreamcast.
Go home.
take your bad opinions elsewhere.
I'll just
All
be here
right.
with Banjo-Kazooie. Y'all can do whatever you need
We're
to
just
do.
melting down. We got to keep on the time track. So let's keep going. We also heard that Cyberpunk 2077 is delayed again. I think we already mentioned that. So, boo. That was like the other big game besides Last of Us that we were all really looking forward to. The one with Keanu Reeves, no less. So, yeah.
But did you see that sweet gameplay they released of the
No.
someone, they were in a car chase and like, of course it's first person. So you're out like hanging outside of the driver's side of your car while you're driving, shooting at this van in front of you with like stuff coming out of it and a person shooting back at you. And it's this whole like cinematic style chase. And people are like, the delay hurts more. But like I was kind of telling Charlie before the show, like CD Projekt Red is kind of, they're not Blizzard to the point of like where Blizzard just says Diablo will be out whenever we feel like it and we're just going to work on it for 9 years and it's okay, we're going to release it. CD Projekt Red is not as bad, but it is very much like we could see another delay. Like when it's done, it'll be done. So I don't know. I mean,
this feels like the I can't remember the Norman Fetus game.
Death Stranding?
Death
But
Stranding,
this is going to be good. So.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things where it's like we're just going to keep pushing it. We're going to keep tweaking and keep doing stuff. And it's like you're going to ruin it. Just stop.
I love Kojima, but the USPS simulator is not for me. Please, thank you. Okay.
Wow, that's an excellent comparison.
USPS. Wow, USPS. That took me a second. Yo, that is maximum shade right there. All right. Moving right along, we're going to go from gaming and talking about that over to the first trailer for Frank Miller's Cursed, which is coming to Netflix.
Yeah.
So Frank Miller, the mind behind The Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, whole bunch, Sin City, 300, yeah. It's interesting because he tried his hand at Hollywood at the 2000s and, they made Sin City and that was a success. So then everybody thought that he was going to be like this genius in Hollywood kind of, cash cow. And then they made The Spectre. And if you ever go back and watch promotionals for The Spectre, it's ridiculous. Everybody's kissing Frank Miller's ass. They keep calling him, Eva Mendes refers to him throughout the whole thing as the genius Frank Miller and all this stuff. And so that came out and it was terrible. Sin City 2 kind of got terrible. And then Frank Miller just started being Frank Miller and people were like, uh-oh, maybe this guy isn't like the greatest thing in Hollywood ever. So he's been on kind of a low burn since then.
Wait, the Spectre?
Yeah.
The Spirit.
Or the Spirit.
The Spirit. Oh, yeah. I was wondering. I was like, is it the same thing we're talking about? That's one of the only movies I've ever walked out of.
The Spirit?
In the middle of it.
Yeah.
One of the only ones.
Yeah, as well you should have. So, like, basically, yeah, The Spirit. Sorry. Yeah, so Frank Miller hasn't been that hot a commodity in Hollywood since. But here we go again. We're going to do this show called Cursed. And we got the first trailer. And I think, Charlie, you kind of put it in perspective saying this looks like a worthy successor to The Witcher. And I would agree with that. I mean, this is very much some kind of The Witcher vibes. And, yeah, it's based on the best-selling books, the Curse series. And it's about a girl who inherits a mystical sword based on this teaser. That's about all I know about it. I've never jumped into the series.
It's basically, do you read King Arthur stuff?
Yeah.
So it's really Arthurian, which I like that stuff a lot. And so this is about I can't remember her name. I'm blanking right now. But the woman in the water and King Arthur.
The lady in the lake.
Yeah. Lady in the lake.
The woman in the water.
That's who this character is essentially.
M. Night Shyamalan.
But she ends up with Excalibur. It's like a version of the story where she wields Excalibur and stuff. And Arthur's a part of the story. Merlin's a part of the story. So I mean, any of that kind of stuff, I think is usually pretty fun. I mean, the Charlie Hunnam King Arthur movie was not great, but I still enjoyed it.
I love that.
I
don't like love is a strong word, but I very much like that movie.
The Kid Who Would Be King last year was really, really slept on. Is a really good film, and this, I mean,
that was awesome. I love that movie.
I will admit I've seen a little bit of Cursed, and I can't talk about its quality, whether it is good or bad, but it definitely feels like what people are wanting after The Witcher came out. And from like a business perspective for Netflix, like this show is going to absolutely crush because there's nothing else happening right now. It's a fantasy thing, which apparently everyone, like The Witcher proved. I mean, Witcher had a bigger built-in audience, but it proved that people want to see fantasy stuff. And then like when I watch like what people are watching on Netflix, like I check the top 10 every day. Anything that comes on Netflix that's a new original always has steam behind it. And then when you put someone like Catherine Langford in front, who at least the first season of, she was the face of 13 Reasons Why, which has a giant audience on Netflix, and I don't really understand, but they love her. So when you kind of put all that together, like this show's going to dominate the news cycle for probably a couple of weeks when it comes out. Like it has 2 weeks from when that comes out to when Umbrella Academy season 2 comes out. And now, it'll be the only thing we talk about.
This has been in development for a while. I mean, right? Like this has been.
I think so.
Yeah, I have the book. I haven't read it yet, but I have the book somewhere, and evidently that has a really like passionate audience. I like the trailer. I mean, I thought the trailer was pretty good. As someone like Charlie who will essentially give anything King Arthur a chance, I will watch anything King Arthur. It might suck, and I'll probably like it a little more than everybody else just because like it's King Arthur. But this looked interesting. I like the music and the tone and stuff. It's kind of cool. I eat that stuff up. We'll see if
it's kind of cool to stylize. I mean, now that I actually know more, I knew about this project, but I didn't remember that this was the title of it. So I remember there was a lady in Lake. I also like King Arthur. I mean, it was cool with the passing of Excalibur and that whole kind of thing.
And Kofi, you saw who's one of the stars of it?
Yes, I did.
Daniel Sharman.
Oh, yes, I did see
from like one of the best things that ever happened to the Walking Dead franchise.
No, I did see that.
What I would like for if Netflix is all in on like doing King Arthur adaptations, Netflix is the one that signed a deal with Boom Studios, correct? Then weren't they the ones that signed the live action like Boom Studios is doing a bunch of live action adaptations of their books, and I thought it was Netflix. I think it was them. If that's the case, and you like King Arthur, please, for the love of Lord, someone adapt Once and Future, because Once and Future is just like a King Arthur on top of its head, and it's
it was Boom Studios with Netflix.
Okay, so if that's the case,
if they announced which things were going to happen,
because
Once and Future is one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
It says Lumberjanes, Something is Killing the Children, Once and Future, and Mouse Guard are the like they're the examples they used for the things that Boom Studios owns.
But Once and Future is one of their best-selling books like over the last couple years, and that is King Arthur reimagined, and like if they can do this with Frank Miller stuff, I would love to see what they can do with that. So I'm
900% down for Netflix becoming the new home of like the Arthurian multiverse.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yes.
Like
the problem is that,
I mean,
like,
not really.
sometimes-
That's gonna wind up being weird. But like, I'm
the
that
problem.
person.
Comicbook.com,
I don't.
Yeah.
Part of me doesn't want to be the guy, but also I like being that guy, so I'm just going to do it. Netflix is really great at giving shows and giving creators freedom to make cool stuff. Like bankrolling Martin Scorsese to do whatever he wanted with The Irishman. Putting the money behind Spike Lee to make The Five Bloods. Like they. Resurrecting Lock and Key. Netflix has a problem with shows like this, making them look not cheap. So many of them look cheap. The Witcher has some really great moments where it doesn't, but also a lot of moments where it really does.
Be careful, Charlie. Be careful.
And Lock and Key, especially, Lock and Key looks like it had no effects budget behind it whatsoever. And if you're going to do this Arthur stuff, like that's cool. But like, how much money are you willing to put behind it? Because you have to make it look good to be interesting. Well, look at what Amazon's doing with the Lord of the Rings. I don't know how much money they're putting behind Lord of the Rings. Look at what HBO put behind Game of Thrones. Like, you need to have those giant sets and those giant budgets to do this right.
So it's a little
Netflix
unfair to compare Netflix to Amazon. That's like Bezos money.
I'm just saying Netflix doesn't put the budgets behind stuff to get these big grand sets. They try to make them look big in little spaces.
Like,
and it doesn't work.
But yeah, the Game of Thrones put a lot of money behind its last season, and people hate that. Netflix didn't put as much behind The Witcher, and people love that. So, like,
I mean, people were mixed on Witcher, so let's just remember that. But look,
whoa.
I'm not talking
But
trash.
like
I'm just saying
you were
it
mixed
was.
on which
It has like 50-something or 60%.
Look, we're not going to get into
Tomatoes.
this.
It's mixed.
We're going to take a break, but I mean, that's what Charlie's warning is. He wants these Arthurian legend stuff to
That's
look
really
like
hard to
high
say.
budget. Yes, it is. So that's what he wants. But we're going to keep an eye on it and let you know what's going on with Curse. We got to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to continue breaking down some news stories and some trailers. Plus, we're going to get into what is going on the manga front because it is crazy. So stay tuned for all of that. All right, moving along from the unexpected grenade of Frank Miller's Curse to another kind of trailer we just got. Nia DaCosta is making a new Candyman movie, which is kind of called Candyman, but it's really kind of a long-awaited. It's kind of a direct sequel.
A continuation of the story.
We just call them direct sequels now. They're basically reboots that are so far away from the original story that they're basically like new starts. But
Candyman Afterlife.
Yeah. So this is a direct sequel to the first Candyman because that's why they're called direct sequels because we pick and choose what we're actually sequeling. So not the whole thing, just like the first film, not that other crap. So a direct sequel to the first Candyman, starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and there's been a lot of speculation about the twist being that he's like Candyman's son and stuff like that, or kind of related and like that. But Nia DaCosta was obviously going to do a deeper film to this because it's about Chicago and it's about gentrification. A lot of the first Candyman was about that, had a lot of socioeconomic and racial kind of themes to it. But it looks like we're going to go really deep in this one because she released this very haunting teaser, which is basically like a prologue. And it uses kind of, I thought people were saying puppets, but I thought it was CGI, like made to look like puppets. I'm not.
It was paper cutouts. Like there's
Yeah,
parts
that's
you can
what I
see the
thought.
hands.
Yeah, I just thought it was like a Nightmare on Elm Street, or I thought it was just all CGI made to recreate that. But anyway, however they did it, it looked amazing. It was paper cutouts and things, and it was basically it went through a mix of Candyman's kind of horrific origin and story and real life, kind of killings of Black people that have really happened, and kind of mix these two together to kind of turn Candyman essentially into a metaphor for almost like the boogeyman of Black Lives Matter, like coming back and being this kind of manifestation of the rage of this violence and this injustice and stuff like that, and kind of being this method of justice, or I don't know if it's glorifying Candyman, but saying like this is a metaphor for how ugly and crazy and dangerous this rage and all this brutalization has created. So I thought it was a damn good prologue and one of the better teasers I've seen in a while. Unfortunately, I had to write the article, so I had to leave it on repeat a lot while it was on Twitter, and I don't know if that was good for me. But as I wrote in the article, I mean, the timing of this is now good. Candyman arrives in September, and now a teaser like this kind of does a good job of maybe rallying both, a lot of the social stuff that's going on and people's need to get back to the movie theater by September, and turning this into getting people into the theater, not just to see a movie, but like as a form of their own, I don't know, calling it protest, but they want to put their money behind a movie like this. So that's what was my 2 cents on Candyman. What did you guys think? Matt, let's stay with you because you're a horror expert.
Yes, I am. As someone who is not a big horror person, I will say that this trailer or teaser or little vignette, I don't know what to really call it, but like this got me more excited for this movie than anything else has before. I mean, I'm not really the biggest Candyman person. I don't really know the history and things like that involved with it. And this was like, I couldn't take my eyes off this like the whole time. Now, the animation style has a lot to do with that. It's so unique and kind of like, it makes you feel uncomfortable. Like it's just very much throughout the time. And then like the narration and stuff, it's just so well done. And I don't like, when I looked at Candyman, I was just like, oh, it's a dude killing people with a with a hook or a sickle. Like you can swap out the weapon, right? It's just another slasher movie. And this kind of brings those other points of it to life that I would not have assumed. So This actually got me excited. Like I would actually check out that movie now, but where before I probably would never watch it. It's just not my genre for the most part. But this was interesting. I dug it.
I will start by saying, Matt,
Yes.
Candyman's on Netflix. Please go watch it.
The
original. It's so good. It's so good.
And
I think it puts a.
I will watch it.
Good. I'm proud of you. This little teaser thing puts a lot of that story in perspective, and like Kofi said, it really meshes it with the 21st century, or that was the 20th century, but it meshes it with today.
Yeah,
and it does a really, really good job of reminding people that it's going to be the same type of horror film. But I think this has the opportunity to be way scarier. I mean, like I was lost for words when I saw it the first time. Like it's such a gorgeous piece. It's 2.5 minutes long, but it is just insanely wonderful to look at. And Nia DaCosta hasn't done a lot yet, but she's really proven herself. Little Woods is fantastic. I think that's on Hulu with Tessa Thompson. And obviously Jordan Peele's producing, and I think he co-wrote the script, right?
I believe so, yeah.
He knows his stuff. And the fact that he chose Nia DaCosta, he brought her in to direct this for a reason. And when you watch Little Woods, it shows that she really, really has some awesome stylistic vision. And I think this has the potential to just absolutely be killer. And especially Yahya Abdul-Mateen, everything he's in, he's been fantastic to this point. I mean, The Get Down, Watchmen, I didn't love Aquaman, but I loved him in Aquaman. I think he was great in Us. This is just shaping up to be really something special.
Megan, did you have thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts closely echo Matt's. I am more so than even he is not a horror connoisseur, so I don't know anything about Candyman, but I did see this teaser mainly because I saw the animation style of it. I was an animation kind of guru fan of stuff like that. It is a very upsetting trailer. Just watching it, you get a very visceral upsetness to you, which if they're able to do that in a 2.5 minute clip, then I can only expect good things to be coming from a full-length feature. So I might have to I don't know, just get really brave and watch the movie.
We'll do a Candyman watch party.
All right, yeah. If you set it up, Matt, socially distanced Candyman watch party.
Yeah, me and a bunch of friends a couple weeks ago wanted to have a midnight movie on a Friday night, and there's a program called Scener, like a movie SCENER, and it's an extension for Chrome, and it's like Netflix Party, but it incorporates video into it. So one person's the host, and when they hit Netflix, everyone else's Netflix turns on to that, and then you have your video up beside the Netflix. And you can watch something together, and it's we all watched Candyman a couple of weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. But if you're scared, maybe that's a great idea to watch with some friends. I was gonna say I'm gonna watch it with all the lights on.
I have to watch it at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, all the lights on. My
An afternoon quarantine watch party. None of this night junk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gotta be.
I see you, Matt. I hear you, Matt. We're gonna make it happen.
Oh boy! All right, so. We're going to keep our eye on Candyman because this was a pretty good trailer. And now it makes me more interested in the movie. We're also going to move on to the DC side of things and talk about something that was clarified recently. So in the DCEU, and specifically the Snyderverse run, there's been one lingering mystery, which is Batman v Superman. We saw a kind of Batman's, I don't want to say Hall of Fame, but his kind of trophy cases. One of them was a Robin costume that was covered in Joker graffiti. And there was always this kind of insinuation that this Batman and Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker had this much more violent, dark history between them, that in this continuity there was a dead Robin, and Batman had kind of flipped out about this and beaten Joker so bad he beat his teeth out, and that's why he had the silver teeth and all this stuff. And there was always kind of speculation which Robin is this? What are they doing? Is this the Death in the Family lore? Is this Jason Todd? And we've had, I feel 1,004 kind of fake start stops about so-and-so confirmed it's this, so-and-so confirmed it's that. But in the latest one, we got a kind of a confirm from Suicide Squad director David Ayer, who said, I was just pulling up the thing, who basically said that, Jared Leto's Joker actually killed Dick Grayson, and that in this DCEU continuity, it's Dick Grayson who was dead, which was interesting things because I feel like during all this, there was a Nightwing movie we were talking about.
Yes, there was.
And
So
stuff
that
like
goes
that.
to show.
Yeah.
Because we all thought it would be Jason Todd, and there would be like a Red Hood movie, and that'd be really cool with a Red Hood with Ben Affleck's
Wasn't
Batman.
Chris McKay in that movie too?
Yeah, it was like so. Yeah, so now, but now
there's so many good movies that were supposed to happen in this thing.
Yeah, and now we got it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing about that, because he says that was Zach's original intent.
Yeah.
So
and he proves it. I mean, he posted David Ayer. That was what was confusing me, and I just was looking at it for a quick second. So David Ayer's not taking heat on this one. He's like, look, this was Zack Snyder's original intent, and he put up proof from I think Zack Snyder's what is that, Vero,
or whatever you call it.
Yeah, where he basically told a fan and like, that no, it wasn't Jason Todd. Yes, it's Dick Grayson, and that his Justice League will kind of speak back to that and what effect that had on Batman a little bit more than we saw.
Well, so like, here's my question then. So when we first heard, and I would have to go back and like look at like dates and figure all this out, but like I would be curious to go see when the Nightwing movie was announced, because was it announced before Justice League fell apart and got released, or was it been announced after? Because if it was announced after, I get like, wipe the slate clean. Let's do, it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters anyway. So let's just go with Dick Grayson Nightwing. If it was announced before and they knew that that was Dick Grayson, then it just speaks to like the sheer, like, was anyone paying attention at Warner Brothers when all this stuff was coming together? Because otherwise, how do you greenlight a movie where the lead dude is already dead in the universe? That makes no sense.
Yeah,
to me,
I mean,
okay.
I don't understand that either. It seemed like it's a really easy thing to say, hey, because there was so many theories about this Robin thing when Ben Affleck's Batman came around.
It came during the fallout of Justice League. So this Hollywood Reporter article, Warner Brothers plotting live-action Nightwing movie with Lego Batman movie director Chris McKay, was published on February 23rd, 2017, which would have been around the time, because what that would happen, it was the Joss Whedon news and a bunch of other stuff happened all at one time. Look and see when that was, but it was right around that time.
Way to have the stuff together. That's so crazy.
I mean, it seems like it's snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. All you got to say is Jason Todd, and because that was a theory, like there was indications that Ben Affleck's Batman had become so kind of like dark and militant that he had been estranged from the Bat family, and it was that the breaking point was Jason Todd. That's what sent Bruce back onto his kind of solo crazy darkness, that Jason's death, and that he had been estranged from Dick Grayson because there was all the Adam Driver rumors. Like there was all this crazy stuff that we thought might happen that would reveal that, would see kind of Dick Grayson and going at Ben Affleck's Batman and then being at odds, and Batgirl thrown in the mix. And so, wow, we've been through like 15 different DC movie universes.
So I was a little bit wrong. The Whedon replacing Snyder, or Snyder stepping down from Justice League, came in May.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Then the movie came out in November, but that's when that happened. So it was in that February time when Justice League had already shot that reshoots that all this stuff was going down.
Okay. Yeah. So it was already in the
That feels like 70 years ago.
Yeah, it does.
Like when you
even
just said
before
like
the pandemic,
2017.
it was like that. It was so long ago.
Yeah,
I know. And like you just said that, and I was like, that was probably about 13 years ago. That's how it feels.
What's crazy about this is that I love the actual story, like the beats there of Joker. When that first came out of like this older Batman, and like he's kind of, he's not optimistic anymore, and he was already not optimistic as a character anyway, but like here he's like completely like devolved into this just person of the night. And Robin died, so like he beat Joker. Like all that stuff connected to like Joker's teeth, and like that's why they hate each other was awesome. I loved all that. And when I heard it for the first time, and then but it always made sense that it would be Todd, because like Kofi said, you could bring in the older Barbara and Dick, and even if you wanted to, Drake, I guess, but like you could bring in some of those other people after he's kind of come around because of Superman. Like you have this whole thing that builds out that way. If you kill Grayson, you like stunt all of it. Like you can't get to certain places without just like completely replacing it. Like everyone, there's followers of Todd, Drake, and now Damian, but there's not near the followers that Grayson has. Grayson is the original Robin. He is Nightwing. Like there's not been 10 different Nightwings. There's one. So that's just a really baffling decision to me. But hey,
you made a really good point there, Matt, that it
rare.
Sounded really good on paper.
Yeah.
And that applies to so much of this. Like a club owning like turd of a Joker, just like that you just can't stand, is such a good idea right now. Like he's such a tool, and that's great. And the idea
I'm still not sure you're clear to talk about Joker or anything on this show.
Oh God, no! Don't start. We don't need.
I have so many thoughts about Joker right now that we could spend a whole podcast talking.
We don't need another.
We're not going to. I'm not diving into them. I'm just saying that I have them. But like on paper, they're great ideas. On paper, BVS was a cool idea. You just leave Batman at home and just let Bruce Wayne be Bruce Wayne and don't actually pull out Batman. I think that Man of Steel 2, Dawn of Justice works a lot better. But yeah, on paper, there was really cool stuff happening throughout that whole franchise.
We're going to move on from Charlie's crazy ideas about DC movies to Marvel's latest trailer for
It's like
Empyre.
the tip of the iceberg. You don't even know.
Marvel's latest trailer for Empyre, which is their big kind of upcoming summer event, which takes a lot of the stuff from the Kree Skrull Wars of classic Marvel storylines and some of the newer stuff like Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, and Young Avengers storylines, and kind of brings it all together in one big event, which sees Hulkling, or Warlord Hulkling, rather, uniting both the Kree and the Skrull Empire in this thing called the Alliance. And one of the key factors of this alliance is both of these races deciding that, hey, our main shared problem in all this is Earth and these heroes, the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, who have meddled in our the course of our races, and not for the betterment of us always. And so they come to Earth looking for a bone to pick, and there's gonna be a lot that kicks off. So we got the latest trailer for Empyre, which is one of these Marvel kind of like they do a motion comic type of trailer, and this got me kind of interested in this. This was a pretty epic one, and it looked pretty good, and I'm kind of Empire's growing on me. Also, mostly because in the large absence of a summer movie season, this will be kind of a good event to kind of dive into. So,
well, I hope you want to dive in because it is so much. Have you seen the checklist?
Did you see? Yeah. Dude, I saw the checklist. It's huge. This and like 10 of Swords or Swords of 10 or whatever the hell that X-Men event is.
Yeah.
It's like 20. This is like what? How many chapters?
This is I think the core one is like 10 or 12, but then there's so many spin series.
Yeah, there's an entire X-Men wing of this story.
Yeah, it's so big. Now, the coolest part of this trailer is that we get another look at the new Accusers. The Accusers look so sweet. Carol and Spider-Woman and Hazmat and Rhodey all in like with their hammers and their gear. Oh my God, it looks so cool. I think
one of these days, comic book people are going to stop putting Y's for eyes to make things seem edgy, and it's going to be awesome. One day.
So I think it's really smart what they're doing with this, only because the Skrulls and the Kree are so embedded in so many different pockets of the Marvel universe, and especially over the last 8 years, they'll have pockets, right? Like Secret Invasion was, yes, putting the Skrulls in the spotlight, and the Kree, of course, like when Captain Marvel came out, they kind of put more of an emphasis on the Kree, but they get largely like they're here for a month and then they get pushed to the side, or they get here for an event and they get pushed to the side. I think this is a really smart way, if they play it right, to make them important, like moving forward. Like the fact that they're going to unite because they're sworn enemies under a new king, which makes Hulkling important. and you lift him up to a new tier and set him off for a bunch of stories. And because it's Hulkling, Wiccan, and the Young Avengers, you can use like there's so many things that can spiral off of this and that can have real lasting ripple effects. I think it's really smart if they do it right. Al Ewing is writing this, I believe, correct? I believe he is the one writing this. So I mean, it's in good hands. And I think if they play, as long as they just rein in some of the tie-ins, like it already feels like it's too much and it hasn't even started yet.
Well, the thing is, and the thing that I'm kind of theorizing here is that the tie-ins actually do feel like they're gonna maybe be important because there's some big things that are also happening in this. Like there are things that are happening that affect the modern Marvel universe in weird ways. For the first time, we're kind of seeing like a big event. Like, how does Krakoa factor into this? When that was one of the big things they teased is how does X-Men and House of X and Krakoa factor this? Because they're like, yo, we're not with them. Like, we are not them anymore. Like, we should be together. Like, we should be cool. Like, we're all people that have been kind of screwed over by this. And so, like, how do they factor in? There's an entire storyline about something about Black Panther is going to be kind of really in peril in all this. And I feel like it's going to be a major spin out. And like, so there seems to be, what this does that I like is, like I said, it's kind of a mix of the old. It's for like a lot of fans. Like if you were a fan of the classic Skrull kind of wars and storylines, secret up until like Secret Invasion and all that, there's a lot that's here for that. But if you're like somebody who came in the 2000s in a newer age and you grew up like reading like Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, you read Young Avengers and were really into that, like there's going to be a lot of that. And if you're just getting into like the new age of like Fantastic Four and Avengers, or if you're just an old fan, like there's a lot from both sides of that too. So, I mean, it seems like there's going to be enough for everybody here. And they keep dropping little teasers puns that are annoying me. I mean, first of all, Empyre, like, of course, it seems like something's going to burn. Something's got to burn, and they keep saying things like it's going to be earth-shattering, and I feel like the earth is actually going to get shattered. So
they also, it feels like every Marvel event, someone betrays the heroes. It's always like there's a traitor in the midst. Like, what event is there not? Like, it's always that way.
Spider-Woman was
Remember the last Empyre thing when Captain America was that guy?
Oh, Secret Empire.
It's gonna be Spider-Woman again. She was a triple agent. You never knew.
Don't put that out there. They might do it. I don't put that past them. And like you said, I think I also will say this is one of the coolest Avengers teams in a while that like we have right now with like Blade and Ghost Rider and like it's such a different team and a fun team.
The most Jason Aaron Avengers.
Yes,
team
very much so. He literally plugged. I mean, that was always the running thing, like with Bendis when Bendis ran the Avengers, and it was like, okay, Luke Cage is going to be on the team because it's Bendis. This person's going to be on the team because Bendis likes them. This is like Jason Aaron, like this is my dream team.
Jason Aaron just happens to love really cool characters.
It's great. It's awesome. I love it. So this is really like one of this event, because it's so big and it's going to put the Avengers in the spotlight and the Fantastic Four. But I just think like if it was going to happen, I think this is a cool time to happen because it's such a fun team. So
Matt, I just haven't been paying attention. Who's writing the main book for Empyre?
Ewing.
Al Ewing, okay. I think.
Yeah, Ewing's writing. Then Ewing's writing.
I take back everything I said that was bad.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's actually Al Ewing and Dan Slott.
That's right, because Slott is doing the Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four's been really good.
It's Fantastic Four. So Slott, I like that. I feel like I'm always like one of the few people on when we talk.
I've been hit or miss on Dan Slott in the past, but
I don't love
his Fantastic Four has been very good.
His Fantastic Four has been good, and that is what he's handling because the Fantastic Four are such a big part of this storyline. He's handling that.
And Ewing's Immortal Hulk is one of the best like mainstream comics of the last few years,
which is ending soon. R.I.P.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to keep an eye on Marvel's Empyre. Since we'll have less movies to talk about this summer, we will be getting into these comic book events, so stay tuned for all of that. Finally, Megan, it is your time to shine. Take these fools what is happening in manga. We've been telling you guys since quarantine started you need to get those manga subscriptions because, comics are great, but manga's really been hitting its stride. It's always been great, but it's really hitting its stride in the mainstream in the last couple of years. And right now, there are some big shifts happening in the genre. We have some new doors that are opening wide and some doors that are closing. So, Megan, lay it out for us. What's going down?
Awesome. Well, just as a brief little moment, if you are paying attention to any of the weekly Shonen Jump series, there are spoilers coming out in the next couple minutes. So
Yeah, we
I've
got
warned you.
lots of manga spoilers coming. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a quick heads up. But basically, um, in lieu of most entertainment happening right now, comics and manga are just going nuts. We had two major finales just happen in terms of manga. So if you had heard us talk about on the podcast Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba or The Promised Neverland, those are officially done. The mangas have ended. Now the anime still has a lot to go, so you can still watch it, but the stories have wrapped in print. um Unfortunately, and I think Kofi agrees with me on this, these endings were a little bit weak. They kind of, I feel like Demon Slayer really got into its hype because it was so popular, and it just kind of started falling apart. And rightfully, the artist ended it before it could just like devolve into like some Inuyasha nonsense. And I say this as a big Inuyasha fan. But basically, the Demon Slayer, it opens up room for like a modern day sequel, but we like time skip from like feudal era Japan to like modern day, and it's pretty nuts seeing how everything works out. And The Promised Neverland also has a major time skip forward, so you go from them being like 12 or 13 to like 15, 16, and they're no longer, you know, food for demons anymore, which is great. But unfortunately, like the main character doesn't remember anything that happened. So it's pretty weak in that regard. It's the last spread of that. Like you really wanted something impactful from Emma and Norman and Ray and all the kids, but you don't get it. And fans were pretty upset with, you know, it was emotional, but like it just is really lacking to have all this build up. A lot of commentary surrounding the ending has just been like The Promised Neverland started out really good with this kind of like dark setting, but as the manga went on, it just didn't quite nail the head.
Well, I was just
So
kind of what I'm surprised in both these series are really similar is how they really started out like building these kind of intricate mysteries, but it feels like as they both started to get more popular, like the anime and stuff like that, like the creators both freaked and then just like immediately jumped into climax mode. Like you
yeah,
go from like zero to climax mode in both of these series. Whereas like I feel like older manga and stories like that we would have had like at least like 2 or 3 more arcs. It's just like we went through like these decisive battles to like, okay, final battle time. It's like
yeah,
Demon Slayer had you thinking like you got to kill every, you know, that we would have time to kill like every lower ranked demon and then upper ranked demon and then we have a final battle. And it's like, nope, we fought like 2 upper ranked demons. I feel like we're ready to kill everybody. Like, and then it
yeah.
just goes into these insanely big but kind of rushed finale acts that
Yeah.
were like, yeah,
It
and
was
yeah.
ultimately very nonsensical. So that kind of sucked. But the anime, you know, fingers crossed, like we get filler. Like this is the one time in the case that I'm like advocating for more filler. Like give
Yeah.
us a little bit of padding, like fill in some of those gaps for us because like the manga did not do that. But on the other hand, today we just got new chapters of Boruto, Naruto Next Generation, and Dragon Ball Super, which are two of the biggest franchises out there, obviously. Obviously, Boruto has some controversy when it comes to the anime, but like, hot dang, the manga is so
It's on point.
nuts. Like, if you are
Not a
actively
bad chapter.
somebody who hates on Boruto and like the anime, like I hear you, I see you, your opinion is valid, but like turn off the TV and pick up the manga and read it because when the anime finally starts adapting it, it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
So
not a bad chapter.
So
Nothing
why hasn't the anime adapted it yet? Was it just because it wasn't done? Like it
Well,
wasn't out?
the manga
mainly it's
yeah.
been because Boruto and Dragon Ball Super are both on monthly publication schedules, so you only get one issue a month. So they are longer issues, but it's not enough to float, you know, like tons of episodes that would happen in that time period.
Gotcha.
So they've been doing a bunch of filler content to kind of pad out like the universe of Boruto, but now it's been suffering because it's lacked an actual plot line. So we're like 100 and plus episodes into Boruto at this point without like a central plot line, which has really caused the pacing and quality to suffer. It has just recently started adapting the anime, but unfortunately, right at the time it started doing that, COVID happened and Boruto has been off air for like 2 months now. So the manga has been pulling stride, and I don't even want to like spoil what happens in this big chapter because like I'm still processing it. But all I will just tell you is if you were a fan of Naruto and you were very attached to the character Jiraiya, like, please catch up for this new chapter. Like, they're totally available online. You can read it. Yeah. And the same goes for Dragon Ball fans who are very attached to Vegeta because he has like the greatest comeback like I can ever remember seeing in the Dragon Ball franchise. And like I read a majority of GT, which I won't even talk about right now, but like Vegeta has like such a great moment. He gets an amazing power. Like Goku finally admits that like Vegeta has surpassed him. And then in classic fashion, Akira Toriyama just gives him like the biggest L. And like, it's so sad. It's so sad. If you've been seeing like Vegeta trending on social media the last few days, this is why. Because people have been like freaking out about this like long deserved comeuppance that Vegeta has gotten, and ultimately it was kind of undermined in literally
Dragon
the
Ball
last two
Dragon
pages.
Ball, yeah. Dragon Ball got a Dragon Ball.
I mean, like we knew it was coming, but it's still pretty upsetting. But like the fact that manga has been consistently hitting strides. I mean, to talk about My Hero Academia for a second, like Shigaraki, who is the villain of My Hero Academia, we're currently in like the first major raid ambush of a war that has now started between villains and heroes. Basically, Shigaraki has finally inherited the full power of his master, All for One. And he is legitimately one of the most terrifying, like, comic villains, like, that I have encountered in recent.
Are you talking hand-face guy?
Oh,
No
yeah, he ain't hand-face
guy.
guy.
Hand-face guy.
Yeah,
hands are gone.
Yeah.
What?
It's nuts.
Oh,
like,
no.
Hand-face guy.
So my theory was wrong. He doesn't get his power from the hands. Okay.
No, but he did just kill a bunch of
heroes. You weren't totally wrong. Yeah, he wiped out a lot of people. It's pretty freaky. He's basically evil god now, and it's
he's basically just like I've never been so invested in a manga wanting to know like how in the world is Izuku going to be able to beat Shigaraki, because it's just so impossible to see right now.
He's gonna cry and then it's gonna get better.
No, My Hero Academia is become that series that like every week it comes out on Sunday, and like you pull that up and you're just sitting on the edge of your seat for like a good 10, 20 minutes. Yeah. Just going through those chapters, because every single one is just a cliff, like a nail biter, and it's pretty intense.
Yeah. It's so good. It reads so quick, and the art of it right now, Kohei Horikoshi, when he draws Shigaraki, when he draws the villains period, I feel like that's when he really shines. He's been really able to play with like paneling and just how he's organizing the layouts of everything with the black colors of using like negative space for Shigaraki. It has been so good. Like, I'm keeping up with my regular comics, but honestly, aside from this upcoming Marvel, event that we've been talking about, like the events that I'm looking forward to are like, who is going to die next in My Hero Academia? Because at that point, this series is not at all the series that tonally is shown in the anime right now.
No, they're all changing. My Hero, Boruto, Dragon Ball going through some crazy evolutions through the manga, and it's pretty interesting to see where it goes. So that's what's going on in manga. You guys need to check that out. Shonen Jump, like a subscription is like what, $9 a month, and it's totally worth it. There's so much content, so much. Mm-hmm. So you guys need to check that out. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for tuning in as always. If you're just getting into our show during the quarantine arc, we put up new episodes every Wednesday and Friday on Comicbook.com. You can subscribe to an RSS feed to get regular updates about new episodes. or you can subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. We're on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Google Playlists, or you can tell your Amazon Alexa devices to fire up Comic Book Nation podcast, and it'll get it going for you. If you want to see our smiling faces, you can check out the Comicbook.com YouTube page for Comic Book Nation episodes, or watch us when we go live on Facebook every Wednesday and Friday with these episodes, and check us out there. If you want to drop us a line, you can check us out at the hashtag Comic Book Nation, or you can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
Find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
I'm at Charlie Ridgely.
And I'm at Megan Peters CB.
That'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys again. And if you're just getting into the show, we are out of the office right now. Obviously, we are at home like everybody else. But we're hoping to one day get back in the office. And when we do, we're going to have a big thank you run, because if you guys leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, we read a bunch of them periodically. And if we read yours on the air, we send you a free Comic Book Nation t-shirt. And we're planning to burn through a lot of t-shirts when we get back in the office, just as to show appreciation to our fans. So make sure you get those 5-star reviews in on iTunes. Otherwise, this is Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for tuning in again. Make sure you stay connected, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, be careful out there, and we'll see you again. Peace.
Deuces.